Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
He is Dr. Austin Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, joining us and talking about scrimmaging. He's getting ready to go to a scrimmage, right? The Regis, right. Menominee, Medford, and all that.
Yep, down to Edgar. Yep,
Edgar. Ooh, that's quite the foursome, man. That's a good test for you guys.
It's going to be I think it'll be a good way to get the juices flowing.
Absolutely. So I was wondering if you were year two helping out the program this year. So excited to get into year two?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a fun, exciting season. So I have high hopes. But one thing you always got to put up, all the off-season work, but you gotta prove it on the field.
Yep, definitely. So, it's also preseason in the NFL, and Packers fans a little bit worried about one of their potential players with an injury, and that's Jordan Love, who underwent thumb surgery on his non-throwing hand just a couple days ago. But Jordan Love yesterday saying he's already planning on practicing next week, Austin. I mean, they said it's a ligament and such. I don't think they've actually come out and said what ligament it is, but your thoughts on that, and is that a realistic timeline to even be returning to practice next week already after having surgery?
Well, I think it almost has to be. I'm not really sure what other ligament you'd operate on for an injury like that. I mean, so, ligaments, as we know, are things that attach to bones. So if you're talking about the thumb, really there's only a couple of ligaments in the thumb, and the one most commonly injured by a mile is the UCL. So analogous to the UCL on the elbow. So it's on the inner part of the thumb. It's like the key pinch or grip. So when that ligament tears, you have difficulty gripping and pinching. So it makes a big difference on the ability to use the hand. Now, it's not a throwing hand. So if it was a throwing hand, you did that, then I would say it's going to be at least 6 to 8 weeks minimum. Now, if they did the repair, which with like an internal brace, again, like they do in the elbow for the Tommy John, I think it's possible he'd get back sooner. He'd probably have to wear some kind of supportive brace or something along those lines, which could affect, because they have stuff to take the snap. But if it's a non-throwing hand, certainly going to be much easier recovery and long-term, hopefully not an issue.
Now, I think it was Adam Schefter that said earlier this week, if this happened during the season, we probably wouldn't even know about it. I think Jordan Love even mentioned it. If it was during the season, he probably wouldn't even have surgery on it. I mean, would you say those are kind of accurate descriptions too?
Yeah, I think that all kind of fits with it. And guys can often try play with those if they're kind of high-grade partial injuries. So they may be doing this where it's like, look, the ligament's not fully torn, but you just don't want to mess up his grip strength on that hand, again, for handling the football and that stuff. So certainly possible. Again, it's reading between the lines, but I don't really know what other ligament in the thumb you do a procedure on for that. That's really pretty much the only one.
Another player that maybe Packers fans are a little bit worried about is Jayden Reed. He hasn't been practicing for a while and was in a walking boot for the longest time, but yesterday was noticed by writers or reporters that he was not in the walking boot anymore, but they're calling it a sprained foot, and they're hoping he'll be back for week one. But when we hear about ankle sprains all the time, so when it's a sprained foot, what are the muscles involved in that where it would be a sprained foot instead of an ankle?
Yeah, you're looking more at probably like a list rank style. So mid-foot sprain is likely what it is. So there, like all injuries, there's a whole huge variety or spectrum of severity. Severe ones are season-ending surgery, and so luckily that's not the case. But mid-foot sprains can certainly cause a lot of pain. I mean, it really affects your push-off strength, side-to-side movement. So my assumption is that this is going to be kind of like a low to moderate grade mid-foot sprain, which certainly can be painful and can be debilitating, but usually those heal up really well because if you don't completely disrupt the ligaments, they can heal back. And so you generally start off with exactly like you did, either cast or boot. Sometimes you limit weight bearing, sometimes you don't, depending on the severity. And as time goes along, that ligament starts to heal in, and then over time it goes away. If it's a lower grade, it should heal back completely.
Going to your team with Justin Jefferson, he's got a hamstring issue. I know Kevin O'Connell said the other day he's definitely progressing, but won't be reevaluated to potentially practice until next week. So, I mean, this is another hamstring issue with Justin Jefferson. You as a Vikings fan and fellow Vikings fans who are listening, including Brandon, how concerned should you be about Justin Jefferson dealing with another hamstring issue?
I mean, anytime you see it repeat, you have some level of concern. The Vikings and JJ are both downplaying it big time. They're saying, I think at one point JJ even said, if this was regular season, I might even be trying to play through this. So I think they're just playing it very conservatively. I mean, I don't think he's a guy that needs a ton of preseason reps to get things going. So I think it's going to be a scenario that they're really trying to play it safe. But that being said, he obviously tweaked it to a certain degree. We've talked about this in the past. I mean, significant injuries to the muscle belly or musculotendinous junction, they heal with scars, so you can have some lingering stuff. So there are guys who get a bad calf or groin or hamstring that just becomes a semi-recurrent issue. Again, this one doesn't sound like it was really severe, so that's a good sign. Am I concerned? To a certain degree, but I wouldn't be too worried. I think in the end, this one should bounce back, and like I said, I think they're playing it real safe.
With Shedeur Sanders, who's coming off of his awesome preseason game number 1, but now he's not even going to be playing in his second game because he's dealing with an oblique injury that he suffered during practice while throwing, were the reports there. When you hear that, what are some potential issues that maybe he's going through with an oblique injury?
Yeah, and so that's obviously one of the core muscles. So probably running on the throw and just kind of a rotational injury. Those things, the challenge of them is that any movement you do, your core's engaged, right? So it's something that you can't get around. So it's not like you can just take it easy and be like, all right, well, let's not use that muscle group. I mean, it's involved in absolutely everything that you do. And so when people injure them, they can really be an annoyance. That being said, it's not really any different than any other muscle-based injury. Is that you get through that first phase where there's a lot of discomfort, and then you try to rehab it so you can get good enough where it's not going to become a recurrent injury. Just like we're talking about JJ, you don't want this to be like, oh, there's the oblique again. It's really flared up. So you want to get through that and make sure it heals correctly. So for him, at the quarterback position, certainly those guys when they're mobile and moving, and Shedeur certainly is a mobile quarterback at times. That's something that they're going to really want to probably play it safe and get to the point where it's completely asymptomatic and so it's again behind him as opposed to a recurrent type injury.
One more for you before we let you get to practice here, Austin. Well, I know we talked about him last time, but it's still, if you're a Rams fan, I got to be really nervous about this Matthew Stafford situation because they're playing it really coy, possibly trying to get some practice in and such, but it doesn't sound good with that back issue with Matthew Stafford. I mean, the closer we get to the regular season and such, if I'm a Rams fan, man, I got to be really, really nervous about Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I know we touched on this a couple weeks ago, but could it be something that they're just trying to play it safe? He's an older veteran guy. They don't feel like he needs a ton of reps to get in the swing, perhaps. But to me, that there's several red flags. I mean, one of the biggest ones is his age. I mean, quarterbacks don't play forever in the NFL, and he's already kind of been hemming and hawing. And so I'm not saying we're going to question his heart, but it seems like the last couple off seasons he's been like, well, we'll see if I play or not. So it just doesn't seem like. This is one that if he has some level of pain or dysfunction, he may be more inclined to say, look, it's just not worth it for me to keep going on. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but when you look at kind of the whole picture, if I was a Rams fan, I would definitely be concerned as well. But that being said, if things do respond and go away and he gets back, and like we talked about, the big question mark is it just pain-driven or is there some level of muscle weakness? So if the nerve is pinched enough to actually cause weakness, that's a much bigger deal. Again, harkening back to Manning, that really basically ended his, or at least altered the end of his career, where he had significant triceps weakness. I mean, if you have weakness in your throwing arm, that's a big deal, right? So,
right.
So if he has any level of that, to me, and they obviously they're not going to disclose that and say whether or not he's having weakness. But if it's to the point where there's weakness related to that radiculopathy, then that's going to be a real significant potential for season/career ending. If it's just pain, again, he could play through that. But then, like I said, do you also questions like, is he going to ask himself, do I really need? I mean, he's won Super Bowls. He's got everything on his resume. Is he really going to be die hard to get back out there? I guess time will tell.
All right. Did you see by chance the chamber? I think one of the reporters tweeted a picture. It was like they call it. It's an immortal chamber. Apparently, it's like a wellness device that aims to optimize human performance and promote holistic health. I guess it's like a gravity table that a person lies on to help with rest and rejuvenation. But he spent like Monday's practice in that trailer the whole time. So,
really?
Yeah.
No, I mean, my guess is that's going to be some combination of like red light therapy, hyperbaric oxygen, things like that. Not to say none of those are effective, but I wouldn't say that they've truly found a immortality device. We'll just put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it's like $160,000 trailer too. So.
Oh yeah, that sounds reasonable. Yeah, I'll buy one this weekend. We'll see how it works.
Right, exactly. So, well, hey, best of luck at your scrimmage today. Best of luck on the upcoming season, Austin. We appreciate your time this morning, and we'll talk again soon. Okay, bud?